Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Leo for April 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, or click on the link below this video to see more about my personal live coaching and to see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, both of which are available on a sliding scale and both of which are intended to help you synergize with the stars instead of being in combat with them. And while you're there, you can sign up for my free email newsletter where you become part of my community. So what's going on in April? We've got a major month. We have the continuation of these eclipses. We've been talking about the eclipses for several months because even though the eclipses happen on one certain day, their energy field or orb of influence is so much wider than that one day. So we can often feel news or stirrings or information, energy shifting, starting to come in from the eclipses up to 6 weeks before the eclipses. So the solar eclipse, March 20th, we were feeling that really early into February. And then towards the end of February, we start to feel the energies of the lunar eclipse, which is officially April 4th. So we start out April, boom, with this major aspect. Lunar eclipses are a major aspect in and of themselves, but this particular lunar eclipse is even more major because it's got two major aspects to it that are happening at the same time, and they're in very close angles with very powerful planets that are challenging aspects. So let's talk about the layers one by one. The story of the eclipse is the lunar eclipse is removing something, closing a chapter, ending something, taking something away, a certain element from your life. This is the lunar eclipse in Libra. We know that full moons bring things to fullness, bring things to completion. Well, when there's a full moon with an eclipse, this happens in triplicate. So times 3, the energy is magnified times 3. It carries the power of 3 full moons at one time. So that's what's going on. And Libra is the sign of relationships. So many people are going to have a relationship end. Many people are also going to, or instead going to have, instead of a relationship ending, a facet of relationship is ending, coming to a close, coming to a completion, and perhaps that same relationship will live on in a different form. And we're not saying that this is going to be bad for the relationship. These times relate to important transitions. Sometimes they come with news that people don't like as much. Sometimes they come with just something different, and different by nature. A lot of people are afraid of that because it's unknown, it's unfamiliar. And so some of you are going to have changes that aren't necessarily, you couldn't categorize them as bad, but they're different and it's awkward. Transitions are always awkward, and this energy is very strongly transitional. So we have the closing of this energy and relationship. And at the same time, it's opposing, making a 180-degree challenging angle to Uranus, which, if you don't know about Uranus, Uranus is the planet of surprises. It brings things out of, left field. It's just like, whoa, where did that come from? Even very intuitive people, with this type of transit, you might feel something's coming, but it's very hard to pinpoint exactly. And usually even the most intuitive among us, something is that you didn't see coming. You know, it's a surprise. It's an element that you just didn't think of or weren't expecting, or it's like, oh, wow, okay. I wasn't thinking about that. That's Uranus, and it's a challenging aspect. So there could be something emotional involved. There could be something challenging involved. Pluto is also making an aspect like this. So we have the full moon and then the Uranus here opposing each other. And then we have Pluto at this 90-degree angle, making 90-degree angles to the eclipse and to Uranus. At the same time, Pluto is the planet of birth and death and regeneration and transformation. So this adds another element of old things going away so that new things can come in. And, you know, sometimes the old things going away are things we don't want to go away. And when that happens, it can be very difficult. So that's what's going on at the beginning of the month. There's a very strong story of the potential to clear up energy of codependency. If you don't know what codependency is, you might want to look into it, because I have found that most people have this issue to some degree. Now, officially codependency was, I believe, labeled as such as someone who was the family member of an alcoholic or an addict, was the codependent. So they were the person who, you know, have their lives taken over by someone's addictions. But now over time, people have seen who study this, that there's a fine line, and sometimes the codependent can also have problems with addictions, and sometimes you switch roles, but it's basically the issue of someone not showing up and being erratic and someone else doing more than their fair share. And there's this dynamic, and these people lock together. And not to say that these people, that's all there are to them. There's so much more to anyone than any one dynamic that we are playing a role in. But we get locked into these dynamics at one polarity or the other. And so many people are walking around feeling like, I have all this weight on my shoulder. I'm taking care of everything for everybody. That is just as dysfunctional as the person who's going around completely absorbed in their addiction and not taking care of their things. Because if they didn't have someone doing stuff for them, they wouldn't be getting enabled. So this story of enabler and enablee is very strong at this eclipse time, and the way that the angles are hitting and the way that the signs are lining up, it's very much this treacherous dynamic that brings complete dysfunction and nothing good for anybody from this. So regardless of what end of the dynamic you're at, this can bring, this series of aspects can bring things to a head, but it can also bring rectification. So many a person is going to decide that they need to go into rehab from this aspect. Many a person is going to decide that they need to sever ties with someone who is not going into rehab and seek assistance with why they pull in that particular pattern. If you are a person that pulls in that pattern, it's very unlikely that you're going to wake up and say, okay, I'm not going to pull that in anymore, just because you decided. You have to do inner work to change your imprint. And this aspect is all about dislodging that stodgy, old, dysfunctional energy. This energy where you can't tell the difference between where you start and where someone else begins. Now, in some ways, that engagement is intimacy, where you can step into that space where there's this merging of energies. But when you then cannot step out of that space and tell the difference between you as a person, you as a being, you as a sovereign being, not playing a role, not doing things a certain way, that's where the dysfunction lies. And this aspect is amazing for dislodging that. So if you're having challenging things come up, then try to consider where this might be at play and how you can become more empowered in your life, in your relationships, by evaluating why you're taking in why you're magnetic to certain patterns and why these stories keep playing themselves out over and over again. That's big. Okay, so then we have, and this is super exciting, April 8th, we have Jupiter going direct. So maybe you know, maybe you don't know that Jupiter has been moving through your sign since last summer of 2014. And so for many Leos, especially early placement Leos, early birthday Leos, July born Leos, or anyone with early placements in any of their planets in early Leo, you would have seen very strong, at least minimal, up to very strong forward movement, blazing saddles, being totally on fire at the second half of the year. So then if things you were working on started to get quiet, started to get sleepy, started to have roadblocks, part of that is because Jupiter went into retrograde at the beginning of April. So now at the beginning of December, beginning of December, Jupiter went retrograde, got sleepy, got more quiet, and all of that raging forward energy took several steps down in its intensity. So now April has awakening happening for Jupiter. So for you early born, like July born, most of the strongest energy of Jupiter being in your sign has now passed for you. And if you're early August, like the first 10 days in August, now this coming time is very strong. Or if you have degrees, like 11 degrees through 20 degree placements in Leo. If you want to see if you have any other placements in Leo besides just your sun sign or your rising sign, you can look online how to get a free birth chart and see what planets you have in Leo and what degrees they are at. Because if it's anything 11 degrees to 29 degrees, you still have a lot more magic when Jupiter crosses over all of those planets. So for you later degree and later birthday Leos, then more into the summer is going to be your strongest time for this transit. But in any case, everybody's going to have this waking up energy in some way. So for middle to later degree Leo placements, you still have this amazing expansion happening in your behind the scenes house, in your quiet time house, in your sabbatical house, the 12th house. And you have not been ready to unleash your brilliance on the world yet. And that time is coming. That time is coming. Between now and the summer, it's going to get stronger depending on the later degree you have your placements at. And so if you've been sleeping, you've been hearing us talk about Leo, I mean, not actually sleeping this whole time, like hibernating, but if you feel like you've been hibernating, then that is very well placed, because when Jupiter is in the 12th house, it's a time for quiet. You get prepared for when Jupiter crosses over that ascendant line, and it bursts you forward, bursts all the things you were working on internally out into the open. So for many of you, that's coming. Okay, so we have all of that going on. We have on April 16th, Pluto is going retrograde in Capricorn. So Pluto is the planet that is actually most thriving in retrograde, because retrograde is backwards and inwards, and Pluto rules inwards and backwards in a lot of ways as well. So when Pluto is in retrograde, it's thriving. So from April 16th through September 25th, this is the best time for internal spring cleaning. Cleaning out your body, cleaning out your mind, cleaning out your emotions, detoxing. And some of you are having Pluto actually be in your house of health as this is happening as well. So that adds more focus on getting your health cleaned up. If you get sick very often, if you find that as soon as you're around someone sick, you have an illness, there are things you can do about that. One thing is you can stop eating gluten. Another thing is you can add probiotics. Probiotics are friendly bacteria, and we all have some friendly bacteria in our intestines. We all have some not friendly bacteria in them. We want to keep the ratio of friendly bacteria higher than the ratio of not friendly bacteria. So the friendly bacteria can eat the not friendly bacteria, so that when they come into you and they want to rage with their infections and inflammation, then the friendly bacteria says, oh no, I'm going to eat you now, and you don't get sick. So that's basically a very simple summary of why probiotics are important, because we wipe out our natural probiotic ratio with antibiotics, with other drugs, with supplements, even certain positive things that are good supplements. A lot of them will take out friendly bacteria and leave you susceptible to things that can come in. So you want to take probiotics at night on an empty stomach, because they want to get sticky. They're sticky and they want to stick in the linings of your intestines. And when you have food in there, they can't stick properly. You'd be very surprised at what adding a probiotic at night can do. So of course, I'm not a doctor. You have to check with your certain circumstances. There could be some indications where this is contraindicated for your situation. But this is the time to be asking these questions with this internal cleaning time. They're like superheroes in your intestines. Okay, so let's see. We've got April 18th. We've got the new moon in Aries. And this is very exciting. Anything happening in a fellow fire sign is always going to help you burn brighter. And this new moon in Aries, for some of you, is going to happen in the 10th house. This is career and work and life purpose. So new, fresh openings there. Some of you are going to have this happen in your 9th house. And the 9th house is the house of teaching and learning and philosophy and theology and religion and belief systems and international connections, different countries, different cultures, different languages, broadcasting, publishing, writing, speaking, communicating. Many of you are going to have something new open there. Now, regardless of where the new moon falls for you, there is still very strong activity in the 9th house for all Leos. And this is going to get stronger for you later degree Leos in a little bit, like into April, into May, as all the personal planets, well, not all of them, but the Sun and Mercury move into there. For some of you, it's not quite there yet, but it's going there. So this ninth house focus, this 10th house focus, career, work, and life purpose, if it's not quite there yet completely, it's moving there. You've got Venus highlighting there. Venus brings money opportunities, and Mars is either there or about to be there. Mars is our generator, and Mars brings hustle, bustle, activity, and energy. So for you, it's either in your work, career, and life purpose house already, or it's in your ninth house of the career and the publishing and the inspirational speaking and all of these kind of things. So if that happens to be your work or the work you want to get into, then the two could be intertwined that way. So there's a lot of energy there for that. At the end of the month we have, so basically the end of the month is much lighter than the beginning of the month. There's a lot of heavy kinds of energy breaking through. I'm calling the theme of this month bubbles and breakthroughs, because we still have all of this Aries energy, which is very effervescent. Jupiter's going direct. The end of the month we have a lot of sweet energy, but then there's this heavy energy that causes these breakthroughs. So we've got bubbles and breakthroughs this month is what's going on. And April 18th we have the new moon in Aries, and this is an especially bubbly time because this is like the kickoff party for the astrological new year, which started at the end of March. April 18th brings the new moon in Aries, which is one of the two best times in the whole year to do a vision board. Co-creating something in your life, anything that you want, you can put on your vision board, and you'll be surprised at the power that has, especially when you do it on powered days. This is similar to, I always like to describe this energy with the idea of someone on a desert island, right? A deserted island. Maybe it's also a desert. No, I'm thinking it's like tropical. Okay. So you got left here, you got stranded somehow on this island, and you made a boat, and you're going to try to make your break from this island. Well, do you set this boat out into motion when the tide is coming in? No, it's going to push you back to shore. You're going to be paddling and paddling and paddling and paddling and paddling, and just you're going to get pushed back to shore anyway. You wait to launch your boat when the tide is going out, and it springs you out into the sea and pushes you on your journey. This is the whole premise of using astrology in your life, is that if you understand the normal, natural rhythms at play and you use them instead of going against them, then life is so much easier. So if you're trying to create something, it's hard to do that when all the energy is heavy and, squashing you. You might not have any idea of what you really want except to just have some relief, right? So when the energy is really bubbly and it's bright and has all this momentum, new moon in Aries, you put that energy out into the world and it's easier to take root. So April 18th, that's happening. April 21st, April 22nd, we have a series of transits. Mercury and Mars are conjunct. That means they're together in Taurus. And this is trining Pluto, which is a favorable aspect to Pluto. So this is an amazing time for strategizing. If you have to have some strategy involved, if you need to consult with someone about something involving strategy, this is a wonderful time for that. Also on that day, April 22nd, Venus is making a favorable angle to Jupiter. Jupiter, the great expander, Jupiter that we've just been talking about. So Venus comes, makes this favorable angle, and can accentuate love, beauty, money. This is a wonderful, harmonious, blissful type of an energy. And right after that, on April 26th, we have Venus making a favorable angle to Uranus. So back to back, we have planet of big things making an aspect to love, beauty, money. We have planet of Uranus, surprises, making a favorable aspect to love, beauty, money. Uranus in aspect at the beginning of the month is totally different than Uranus in aspect at the end of the month. An opposition with a full moon total lunar eclipse is with Uranus is like, whoa, some of those things that come out there are not really, maybe aren't going to be the things that you're wanting. But the end of the month, that energy with Venus in a nice angle, those bring sweet surprises usually. It's a higher probability that that will be sweet. So all of this is going on in April. If you would like some assistance navigating through the astrological waters, this is my department. I would love to help you. You can see more about my personal live coaching on my website, aspiritualspark.com, or click on the link below this video. Also, you can see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program. This is available on a sliding scale. The lowest end of the scale is very accessible to everyone. I want you to have access to this program. It's 28 days, which you can repeat and do as you like, of positive forward movement, clearing out blocks, getting momentum, looking deep into the reasons why you're not shining as bright as you possibly can in your life, and clearing them out. That is what it is intended to do. While you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. And I will see you next month. I hope you have a wonderful April. Bye.